the greatest sports debate show on the
For the first time since 2016, we have got a Game 7 in the NBA Finals.
championship rings. Starring Brandon
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Let's welcome the championship ring.
I am loving this feud. Don't you dare shit on this. Don't you dare.
I'm gonna shit on the stipulation of it.
Oh my god, the stipulation is fantastic.
now.
Hey, Brandon, isn't it around this time of year that the playoff picture is supposed to get clearer and we're supposed to not have an idea of who the good teams are and who the bad teams are? Am I wrong about that?
You are right, except this year in not only the NFL, but I would argue in college football as well. It has been a crazy topsy-turvy year, and we're going to get into all of it tonight. Of course, I'm Brandon Woods, the host of Brandon's World. That is Unger to the Max, Josh Ungar, the host of the Sports Room Talk Show that you just heard. We were off last week for the Thanksgiving holiday. We hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. But Josh, we have so much to talk about tonight, but I think we know where you want to begin.
Yes, because, like I said at the top, by this time of year, the AFC playoff picture should be getting clearer. Same with the NFC playoff picture, but both right now are about as clear as mud.
Yeah, and we're going to start off with what I witnessed on a horrible Black Friday afternoon for me. By about 6 o'clock Eastern on Black Friday, our good buddy, Sean Fitzgerald, who also works at Voltage Live, literally called me to make sure to do a wellness check on me. Don't worry, Fitz, I'm fine. I'm doing the show tonight. It was obviously not pretty. And we were not on the air for that debacle of a 21-0 collapse against the Cowboys the Sunday before Thanksgiving. But I think you'll be surprised by my answer, Josh. And, it's like, am I concerned about my Eagles? Yes, I'm concerned. Do I think they're going to have a 2023-esque collapse and not make the playoffs? No, I do not. But am I so upset that, oh my God, we're ruining this, and Kevin Patullo is such an idiot that Eagles fans are throwing eggs at his house in New Jersey? No, I'm not, because my takeaway is, we're coming off a Super Bowl. It's a good team. Most NFL teams don't go back-to-back. Well, we probably do have a chance to go back-to-back. It's not looking good, but I can't be upset about it because things happen. And sure, the last 2 weeks haven't gone this team's way. But then again, we weren't on the air, but my favorite big upset of the week this past week was Carolina over the Rams, and that's what happened. So, again, we could say the Eagles are in turmoil, but how good is everybody else around us?
You guys got punked on Black Friday by the Chicago Bears.
We did, and the weird thing about that game is I know my defense almost gave up 300 yards rushing, but they also only gave up 10 points for 3 quarters, so how mad at them can I possibly be?
Do you know the last time we had a repeat NFC East champion?
It was 2004. It was my Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes. And with this recent skid that the Eagles have hit, guess who it's opened the door for? Dak Prescott.
The team that me and you thought combined was going to win 9 games this year. You 4, me 5. And they are already at 6. And we're going to talk about this game, I'm sure. They have a very interesting game Thursday night against the Detroit Lions. And to me, I'll just say this. The only way I see my Eagles potentially losing the division, they have to lose Monday night against the Chargers, and the Cowboys have to win Thursday against the Lions. If those two things both happen, which they could happen, I'm not saying they won't, but if they do happen, that is the only way to me the door gets cracked.
Yeah. By the way, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not letting George Pickens hit free agency. I am signing him to a contract extension as soon as possible. Him and CeeDee Lamb together have been deadly. But getting back to this game, instead of talking about the Eagles, I want to give credit to the Chicago Bears because they have fully bought into what Ben Johnson has been selling. And I'll tell you what, yes, they should feature DJ Moore more in the passing game. I know you've expressed your opinion about that, but clearly they've become a run-first team. They've adopted that Detroit style of a two running back system with DeAndre Swift and who's the other guy again?
But Monogamy, I forget to say his.
Oh, Kyle Monungai. There it is.
Monungai. He's a 7th round pick.
So yes, and they were just able to run all up and down the field on you guys. I think
against, by the way, Moro Ajourmo, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis, who absolutely did not show up, and the tackling looked like they were playing for a certain team that wears an orange helmet, not a green helmet. So, yeah, that to me was disappointing. And I will get to the Bears, but I want to save them a little bit more because we're going to talk about them way more in the next few topics. So, listen, I don't know what's wrong with this Eagles team. I don't. It doesn't look as bad as 2023, at least in my opinion, on the surface, because it doesn't look like they completely quit. It just looks like the offense has no rhythm. And I think they need to go more up-tempo, get in the more no-huddle. I think they need to throw the ball more early in the game to Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Finally,
on that note, I looked up the stats. A.J. Brown had 10-plus receptions in that game, and then there was a huge drop-off until you got to Devontae Smith, who I think had 5 receptions. I looked up the stats earlier.
And now it feels like they're overcompensating for A.J. Brown. And the thing that I don't get about Batul, and I've said this really since week 1 of the year, it seems to me like he either knows what the defense is doing and he can really call. Look no further than that first half against Dallas. They went up and down the field, 3 straight possessions, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And then it's like the defense adjusts and he has no idea how to adjust to that, which is my concern. Because there's times where, like that drive to A.J. Brown at the start of the second half where it went bang, 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 throw the ball to A.J. Brown, touchdown, 5 plays. How hard is that? It should not be that hard to get these guys more involved in the game plan. That's what I don't understand. And they're not running Jalen Hurts for whatever reason, which I think is hurting Saquon Barkley, along with the injuries along the offensive line.
Yeah, and they asked this question a few times on the big sports talk shows, and in my opinion, the answer to that question is no. And of course, the question I'm alluding to is, do the Philadelphia Eagles have an identity? And like I just said, my answer, no, they do not.
I think that they just think at this point that it's going to be 2024 and they're going to find a way to fix it and everything's going to be fine. And clearly it's not. I thought the Bears game, way more than the Cowboys game, because you can say what you want. Dak Prescott's always had great numbers against the Eagles. I thought it was going to be a close game. It happens. The fact that they got pretty much blown out on their own field on a short week with that defense, especially the way they were playing against the Packers and Lions, that's the wake-up call.
Yeah. To go from giving up, 10 points to the Packers and 6 to the Lions?
It was 9. No, it was 7 to the Packers, 9 to the Lions.
Okay, so you gave up a combined 16 points. That's what it was. To go from that to what we saw on Black Friday in Philadelphia, might I add, against the Bears was kind of crazy.
Well, and again, it was 17-9 in the fourth quarter, despite all that, which is just crazy to me. I wanted to ask you real quick, what was your take on, so the Eagles are down 24-15, and Nick Sirianni obviously goes for 2, and I know you have probably seen the debate on the internet. Greg Olsen and the Manuel Acho were going back and forth. Greg Olsen was even oddly sparring with fans over this. I personally don't like it. I don't get it. Even if they get the 2 to cut it to 7, I think going from 9 to 8. But the argument that all these analytical people are making is, well, if you don't get the 2 points when you're down 8, it doesn't matter anyways, and you want to know how many 2-point conversions you get. I guess teams are doing this all over the sport. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, teams have become a lot more aggressive, and at times it almost feels like they forget they have kickers. Look at the Detroit Lions, for example. What'd they go for? 4 or 5
Well,
times?
that's the other thing. Dan Campbell has forgotten. He thinks Dan Campbell's playing like Madden. I mean, they used to be the best 4th down in the league. Now, again, is that a Ben Johnson thing? Was that what made Detroit special? Was Ben Johnson and all the trick plays and all the crazy things to work on 4th down, and now it's not working? Like, I don't know, man. This football season's weird.
It really is. And the wacky thing is, the teams we thought were going to be good really haven't been. And the teams we kind of wrote off, they're the teams rising up. Think about it. Right now, the Chicago Bears are the #1 seed in the NFC. Like, who saw that coming?
So we both have the Bears being the 7th seed in the playoffs, and we both have them as a 10-win or 11-win team, and they're at 9 right now. And with their hard schedule coming up, they could certainly be, a 10-win team. They could be an 11-win team. But Josh, I wanted to ask you this question. So, I have a theory about what we've seen in the NFL this year, which is kind of what you mentioned. The bad teams that we thought were going to be bad are good, like the Indianapolis Colts, for example. Some people didn't buy in Jacksonville. They're now leading the AFC South. The Patriots, nobody thought would be this good. They're now the #1 seed in the AFC. And the teams that we thought were going to be great, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, Philadelphia, you can make the argument. Even Tampa, they feel very distant and could lose the NFC South to Carolina.
I think that is going to happen, by the way.
So here's my theory. Is in the NFL, I think over the last few years, we've seen a big shift. And that shift is, you mentioned for it more times, more people going for it on 4th down, whether it's a hit or miss, that's what they're doing. They're going for it more on 4th down, and they're going for it more when they get the touchdown. They're going for more 2-point conversions. My thought is, the NFL coaching has never been better, and quarterback play for the good teams has never been better. When you have those 2 combinations, it makes everybody in the league better. And then if you don't have both of those elements, aka the Browns, the Raiders, the Jets, the Saints, the Titans, the Cardinals, even let's say a team like Atlanta, you can't compete. We've seen New England, who had one of the worst rosters in the league last year, go from, they don't have a coach, to they hire Mike Vrabel. They're now the #1 seed in the AFC. The Bears went from Matt Eberflus not being able to manage a clock to starting this year 0-2 to now winning 9 out of their last 10 games. Last year, at the start of the year, the Panthers were an absolute train wreck. Now, all of a sudden, year 2 with Dave Canales, Bryce Young looks like he could be a franchise quarterback. I think this is the year. In the NBA, the last few years, we've talked about the changing of the guard with the young players coming into the league. I think this is now the NFL's changing of the guard, which is, we're not going to give up big plays. We are going to make you nickel and dime the way down the field. And we are going to have these coaches. The best coaches are going to stand out. And if you have a coach and you have a quarterback, you're going to compete. And it's making the top less predictable and the bottom more predictable.
Yeah. By the way, we got Tank Bowl on Sunday because it's the Titans against the Browns. So
that's not the Tank Bowl yet. Wait till week 16 when it's the Saints at the Titans. That's a real Tank Bowl.
Oh, good Lord.
But
no.
I mean, that's my theory. I mean, look at Minnesota, right? They go from 14 games last year. They won 14 games. What changed with the Vikings? One thing, quarterback. Honestly, with this Bears roster, yes, they redid the offensive line a little bit. I get that. But the major upgrade was Ben Johnson as a coach. New England, most of their upgrades actually, I would argue, came on the defensive side of the ball outside of Stephon Diggs. Their biggest upgrade was Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, which the Browns had him in their building, and they let him go out to New England.
And here's the thing, though, right? Like, Kevin Stefanski's an offensive-minded coach. If the Browns had a quarterback, you can make an argument the Browns could be leading the AFC North right now. I could make the argument to you right now the Cincinnati Bengals could run the table and win the AFC North at 9-8 because they have Joe Burrow back.
Yeah, you are 100% right. But you look at some of these teams, and it's just incredibly dysfunctional. Look at the Browns. Think about it. We've had 40 different starting quarterbacks. No, 42 to be specific, I believe it is, since we made our return in 1999. And under the Haslams alone, it's been absolutely ridiculous. You know, the amount of different decisions we've made. It wouldn't surprise me if Jimmy Haslam clears house again and Stefanski is out, Andrew Berry is out. Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at a team like the Patriots. For last year, they were one of the most dysfunctional teams of the week. We all felt like, yeah, Drake May's a good quarterback, but we don't know how good he is because he has no weapons. And, I don't know. They're about to clinch the number one seed in the AFC in probably a couple weeks, and people are talking about if Mike Vrabel and Drake May are the next Belichick and freaking Brady.
I know.
One off season. And I mean, this isn't a matter of this time last year, Robert Kraft had made the decision, I believe already, to fire Gerard Mayo. And look where they are now. And again, yes, they brought in Travion Henderson, who's been picking it up late as a rookie. Yes, Stephon Diggs has helped the offense. But where's their major acquisition? I don't see anything that made you go, oh my God, look at what. It's not like the Patriots traded for Micah Parsons.
No, but you know what Mike Vrabel brought to that organization? Stability. Let me just say this.
Well, he brought a toughness and a culture because you can make an argument about stability, but technically, if you're going where I think you're going, the Browns have had stability technically for the last 6 years.
Yes, but actually that's not quite where I was going, but I'm glad you brought it up anyway. Think about this. I think Robert Saleh, the 49ers defensive coordinator, is a good head coach. He just didn't get a fair chance because he was with an unstable organization.
Well, I think he's brought stability back to the Niners defense. Let me put that in there, because even with all those injuries, we thought San Francisco was done. Hell, I think there's a great chance they pass Detroit, and if the Lions lose this game to the Cowboys, there's a real chance the Niners get in over the Lions in the playoffs.
You're making my argument for me. That's exactly what I'm saying. If he gets another chance as a head coach with a stable organization, I think he could be a great head coach. But, during his first stint with the New Jersey Jets, they were not a stable organization.
No, they're not.
So, of course, it wasn't going to work. Theoretically, if the Browns decided to fire Stefanski, Robert Saleh would be at the top of my list.
Well, I think he's going to another unstable organization. And here's the one thing I will say. I think there's another clear trend in the NFL that either you have to have a great offensive head coach, Ben Johnson, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, etc. Or you could have a defensive head coach like a Sean McDermott, like a Mike Vrabel, or a culture guy, an alpha guy, Nick Sirianni, Dan Campbell. But if you're going to go either of those two routes, you have to have a phenomenal offensive coordinator and risk, like the Eagles did, Kellen Moore, like the Lions did, Ben Johnson, of them getting head coaching jobs. And you know that next year your team's probably not going to be that good. How Tampa Bay walked out with Dave Canales and Liam Cohen the last 2 years is beyond me, because it usually doesn't happen.
So, where would you say Mike McDonald of the Seattle
And,
Seahawks fits in?
you know what? That's a great question because I've heard this a lot about Mike McDonald, how he's, the defensive version of Sean McVay. He came in, and I'll give you credit. You were on this with the Seahawks. Mike McDonald has come in, and his side of the ball, it's what I always look for in a head coach. Their side of the ball instantly got better on defense. But I will say this. They upgraded significantly this year at offensive coordinator, going from Ryan Grubb to Quinn Kubiak, who we all missed because the Saints last year were a weird team. But I think Quinn Kubiak should be on the very short list of head coaching candidates this offseason. And if they get him, I'm not sure Seattle's going to be as good next year because I think Sam Darnold fits that scheme perfectly. So I do think McDonald's a great head coach. I like what he's doing. But is he a byproduct of the fact that on the offense side of the ball, he didn't have to do anything because Quinn Kubiak's running the show the way Joe Brady has done, similarly with McDermott, and McDaniels has done for Drake May in New England.
And yet, when Josh McDaniels was a head coach, he completely failed.
Yeah, I don't get it. He's the one mystery because you look at a guy like Shane Steichen. He's been, I would argue, a great head coach. I think he's gotten the most out of Daniel Jones he possibly could. Now, he's a different story. And the Colts, we were talking about them as a story of the year. Now Daniel Jones is a broken fibula, and to me, they may completely collapse. And we thought the Texans were dead, and DeMeco Ryans, by the way, is another story where he's a defensive guy. They removed the offensive guy. I'm forgetting his name now, the OC they had last year. And it took the Texans a month or two. But now all of a sudden, you can make an argument the Texans have been a top 3 team in the league the last month.
Yeah, their defense absolutely clamped down on Josh Allen, didn't let him do anything. And then they go into Indy and bottle up the Colts.
And I'm telling you right now, one of my games of the week this week is Sunday Night Football. That is a playoff game. The loser of that game to me is out. Texans, Chiefs, Sunday night in Arrowhead. And the Chiefs are banged up in the offensive line, and the Texans have the best defense in the NFL, and I don't think it's deniable at this point.
But are the Texans going to be able to run the ball? That's going to be one of the keys.
Well, I think they are. I mean, the Chiefs' defense has not been the same this year.
They were
That's the biggest story with Kansas City. They're not sustaining drives. Yes, they have Mahomes. Yes, they have Andy Reid. They can't get a stop for whatever reason.
Do you remember when the Chiefs got Rashid Rice and Xavier Worthy back together and were like,
and they beat the hell out of the Raiders and the Commanders. And by the way, the Commanders, Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury, they were fighting like hell. They should have beat Denver Sunday night.
They really should have. I don't know what the story is there.
I mean, I'll be honest. I thought, hand up here, I thought the refs had the money line of the Denver Broncos. I thought they were trying to screw over the Commanders. They missed a tripping call. Then they called Mariota for that ridiculous intentional grounding, which was not intentional grounding at all. I mean, I don't know what to make of the NFL this year, man. I don't.
But to answer the question on the screen, I truly don't know. For a little bit of transparency,
I'll tell you, my eye test tells me it's New England. From every team I've seen, I think they're the best. The problem is, if they're the 2 seed and they're in a first-round matchup with either Kansas City or Buffalo, I'm picking the Chiefs or the Bills. And I'm telling you right now, I will, and I don't care what the line is.
Okay. So it's interesting we're talking about this because I did power rankings earlier today, and again, Denver Broncos fans, I'm sorry I left you out at first. I actually had to add them in.
Hold on. We got to address that real quick live in the air. Josh, how do you forget the team that you picked to win the AFC West this year, and the team that I think now they have the second best record behind New England, at least in the AFC, but I think in the whole NFL?
I think it was because, like, they got in a really close game against the Washington Commanders, and I was looking at some of the other teams that, like, had more dominant performances, and somehow they just evaded me.
Are you
But
sure it's not deep down? Because you know that even though the Broncos beat them, the Chiefs are better.
I want to give you my power rankings because
Go ahead.
I want you to react to these. This actually turned from my top 10 into my top 11. So, do you want me to go from 1 to 11 or 11 to 1?
Hold on. Let's do 11-1. Go backwards for me.
All right. At number 11, the Dallas Cowboys. At number 10, Jacksonville Jaguars. At number 9, the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 8, the Carolina Panthers. At number 7, San Francisco. At number 6, Denver. Number 5, the LA Rams. Number 4, the Chicago Bears. Number 3, Seattle. Number 2, Green Bay. And number 1, the New England Patriots.
Okay, so one, I think you got the Packers way too high. I'm taking the Rams over the Packers. I'm taking Seattle over the Packers. I'm taking Philly over the Packers. And I think it's a flip-flop between them and Green Bay for that 4th or 5th spot.
Okay.
I know Carolina beat Dallas this year in Carolina. I think if it was in Dallas and the way they're playing right now, I'd probably take the Cowboys over the Panthers. I still don't trust the Panthers on the road. That's my issue with Carolina. It's why I don't think they're going to overtake Tampa. I think Tampa needs to be in there over Carolina because I trust Baker more on the road than I do Bryce Young on the road.
If Tampa was healthier in terms of their offensive skill position, I would have put them in. But they still don't have Mike Evans. As far as I know, they don't have Chris Godwin. Yes, they just got Bucky Irving back. And yes, they have Emeka Ibuka. But if they were healthier, I would have put them in. But because they don't have Mike Evans and because they don't have Chris Godwin, at least as far as I know, I've got Carolina ahead of them.
That's fair. I by the way, I would flop, I think, Philadelphia and San Francisco.
Okay.
I don't think the Niners are that good. They have some good wins, but I'm just not impressed by them, even against the Browns. I thought that was a weird game. Their defense kind of led. Brock Purdy didn't do anything special. I still don't trust Brock Purdy in a big playoff moment. And I will absolutely, even though he has not played well over the last month, we know, and we've talked about this on the show before, when it comes to big playoff moments, give me Jalen Hurts. And I will wholeheartedly believe that. So that's why I flip-flop Philly and San Francisco. I would also take the Rams over Seattle. So I would probably flip-flop the Rams and the Seahawks as well because I think the Rams are better than Seattle.
Well, yes, the Rams beat the Seahawks in LA a couple weeks ago. I'll give you that. But
I'm not just talking about that. That's what the eye test tells me because over the last 2 weeks, Sam Darnold has not played well. They could have played me or you and beat the Minnesota Vikings. Their offense didn't have to do anything.
No. And Sam Darnold is going to have to prove to me that he can literally get over the Rams because...
And by the way, he did not play that well Sunday either.
No, but he didn't have to.
Well, again, that's the last 2 weeks, though. Against the Rams, he didn't play well. They lost against the Vikings. He did not play well, and they got away with it because the Vikings don't have a quarterback, basically.
No, they had Max Brosmer or something.
Who made a worse throw than Will Levis, if that's possible. That might be the worst throw in the history of the NFL.
That was horrible. But since you have this topic bar up there in terms of MVP, I guess I'll just get to that right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Drake May is still number 1 for me. That did not change. Matthew Stafford is at number 2. Dak Prescott has shot up to number 3. And because he is basically the offense for the San Francisco 49ers, I've got Christian McCaffrey at number 4. And at number 5, I went back and forth between Caleb Williams and Bryce Young. But because of what Carolina is doing, I gave the edge to Bryce Young.
And Caleb doesn't have the numbers. And I like the fact that you dropped Jonathan Taylor out of the conversation because he has not had the same November that he had in September and October. And again, I think it's possible the Colts don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah. Do you remember, they got off to this hot start, and we were both like, okay, maybe they are legitimate. But then you look at who they beat. They haven't really won at games against anybody legit. Yes,
well, I will say they should have beat the Rams in LA. That fumble by Mitchell cost them that game. And they should have beat Kansas City in Kansas City.
Yes, but they did not. And they only beat the Broncos because of the leverage call.
Yeah.
So you take that game out of the equation, who have the Colts really beaten? And remember, their big acquisition, Sauce Gardner, he's now dealing with a calf injury.
So the only gripe I have in those rankings, I would flop Stafford and Dak. I think Dak's right behind Drake May now as the number 2 candidate in the NFL for MVP because of the expectations. Going into the year, Matthew Stafford, we thought his back could be hurt, yes. But we said if healthy, the Rams are a Super Bowl contender. I believe you even put them as the number 1 contender to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC at the start of the year. With the Cowboys, we both thought they were going to be a bad team. They were tanking. We both thought Dak Prescott may ask for a trade. And when their defense was bad, they may not have been winning, but Dak was putting up MVP numbers. I said very similar to Joe Burrow last year with the Bengals. And to me, Dak is the reason more so they're winning more so than their defense.
Again, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm not letting George Pickens hit free agency. He has been a great complimentary receiver to CeeDee Lamb. If you let him walk out the door, I don't think the Cowboys would be nearly as potent offensively as they are.
Yeah, I think a certain quarterback in Pittsburgh would have loved George Pickens right now.
For sure, because all he has is DK Metcalf and Darnell Washington.
Well, we'll get to them in a little bit. We have 2 huge games to preview. There's a lot more huge games. We're going to preview these 2 for week 14. And the first one here is in the NFC North with the Chicago Bears, who are 9-3. They are at the Green Bay Packers, who are 8-3-1. Josh, I'm going to ask you this question to start off the preview. Are you shocked, like I am, that the Packers are almost a touchdown favorite in this game at home?
Yes. And to be frank with you, yes, this is the oldest rivalry in the NFL, but this is the biggest game I can remember since maybe 2013, week 17.
I would say 2010, the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. Prior to this game, that was the big game I could remember was the 2010 NFC Championship. The 2013 game didn't even dawn on me because, yes, it's supposedly a rivalry, but Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, now Jordan Love have all dominated for the Packers, and the Bears have been, quarterbacking in wilderness. And maybe Caleb Williams is finally going to be their compass, but that remains to be seen. By the way, did you see that the Bears-Packers game in week 16 got
Week 16 is going to be 8:20. Eagles-Commanders is going to be at 5 o'clock. I did see that.
Yes, on Saturday. I originally thought they were flexing that into the Sunday night game, which is currently Bengals at Dolphins.
No, they'll flex Patriots, Ravens into that. They announced these 2 Saturday games before the season. They just never announced a time, and they can't flex out Saturday games. So these are going to stay.
So, actually, I like your Patriots-Ravens pick, but this other one I would mention to be flexed in would be that Jaguars-Broncos game. But getting back to this game, it's interesting because this is the first of 2 meetings that they're going to play each other in 3 weeks. The Bears will host the Cleveland Browns in between these 2 games, while the Packers will be at the Denver Broncos. Thus, in my opinion, this first game is more important for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, plus they're also at home.
Not just because they're at home, as you just mentioned, but because they have the much more difficult opponent in between these 2 games. So, and here's the thing. You and I have both been criticizing Jordan Love. Of course, you picked him to be regular season MVP. We both have the Packers making it to the Super Bowl. And it's been an up and down season with Jordan Love. Of course, we remember what happened during the game in Cleveland, and he had that clunker on Monday Night Football against Philadelphia. But you go back to last week against Detroit, he was firing the ball to the likes of Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks, and they were running the ball well, and the defense was playing extremely well with Micah Parsons. They swept the Lions for the first time since 2020. So,
yeah, by the way, I know we weren't on the air last week. That result did not shock me. Green Bay was one of my upset picks for the week because I saw the way that they handled the Lions week 1, and I thought it was going to happen very similar to that, which is why I'm saying I think this game comes down to the line of scrimmage. I think it comes down to the Bears offensive line against the Packers defensive line, and it comes down to the Packers line against the Bears defensive line. Whichever line of scrimmage wins the battle is going to win the game. As much as we want to talk about the quarterbacks and the skill position players, both of these teams like to run the football. Both of these teams run similar schemes. Both of these teams can get out of the quarterback. And again, we know both these teams can run the football. Whichever team does that more successfully, I believe is going to win the game.
I also think that whichever team can establish their running back, not just in the running game, as you're talking about, but also in the passing game, that could make a huge difference. Because if you're able to get the running back involved in the passing game, that adds another element for the defense to worry about.
Well, neither of these 2 teams in front of their running backs a ton this year. I think it's going to come down to, again, which team can run the football, maybe which team can have one explosive play, whether Caleb Williams could hit a Rome Odunze or DJ Moore, or Jordan Love could hit a Christian Watson over the top. I think you're seeing Green Bay having to really adapt without Tucker Kraft, which was a huge injury for them offensively. Jordan Love is playing well. I think the Packers are going to win the game, but I think it's a 3-point game. I would take the points with the Bears all day.
You know, this game wasn't originally in the 4:30 slot. It was flexed into that. They took Bengals Bills out of the 4 o'clock slot and replaced it.
That's right. Good call, which I don't blame them for at the time, but let me tell you, Bengals Bills is a really good game.
Yes, but this game has a lot more significance, given that right now the Bears are the number 1 seed at 9-3, which, again, nobody was expecting. At least I know I wasn't expecting. And if they win this game, it puts them in great shape, to possibly keep the number 1 seed.
What do you think the motivating factor is for Chicago when everybody is saying, yeah, they're the number 1 seed, but they have no shot to actually be the number 1 seed?
I think that's the motivating factor right there. Nobody really trusts them. So,
I mean, they're talking about this Bears team like they're the 2021 Titans with Ryan Tannehill, who got that number 1 seed and then lost to Cincinnati.
So, hear me out on this. You remember when the Eagles lost Carson Wentz and everybody was like writing them off basically after that?
Everybody except for the people in Philadelphia.
It feels kind of like, again, I get it. The Eagles, that team lost Carson Wentz and they had to turn to Nick Foles. I understand that, but so it's different circumstances. But do you see where I'm going with this?
No, I think this Bears team is more reminiscent of that Titans team I mentioned than that Eagles team.
It feels like the Bears are the way I see it, and the reason I'm comparing them to that Eagles team that went on to win the Super Bowl is because, again, when the Eagles had to go to Nick Foles, they really took on that underdog mentality. You remember they were putting on the dog masks, and
of course I remember. It's my team.
and that was the first time they won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
That's where I'm going with this. It feels like people are saying, yeah, but with the Chicago Bears. Kind of like how people were saying, yeah, but with the Philadelphia Eagles.
You can make an argument, though. They're saying, yeah, but about the New England Patriots over in the other conference, too.
That's a fair point. But at least in my head, the comparison between that Eagles team and this Bears team makes sense. I'm trying to explain it as best as I can.
We'll see if the Bears can really bring out that dog mask on Sunday and pull off the upset. This is Josh's favorite rivalry in the NFL. It is the 6-6 Steelers against the Ravens 6-6. As Josh has always said, he's going to find his favorite place on the couch, and he's going to find a way to watch this game because it is for first place in the AFC North.
Yes, and the only way I'm going to be able to watch this game on Sunday is through NFL Red Zone. Because since the Browns are playing the Titans at home at 1 p.m., CBS isn't allowed to show a 1 p.m. game here in Cleveland. What the hell? But, yes, this is my favorite rivalry in all of the NFL. For me, it is a top 3 rivalry in all of sports. This has been one of the fiercest rivalries I can remember. You've had the greats like Joe. I have to mention him, Joe Flacco. You've had Troy Polamalu, Big Ben, Hines Ward, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed, countless others. You've had, they always play each other twice a year, but God, they've played each other a third time in the postseason at least 7 or 8 times. Of course, they had the 2008 AFC Championship game. You had the game late in the season in 2008 in Baltimore when Ben Roethlisberger got his nose dislocated and they readjusted it. You had the Antonio Brown game where he stretched the ball over the goal line. This game always has a lot riding on it. It's not just for bragging rights. It's for AFC North supremacy. And it's no different in this game. Steelers-Ravens should not be a 1 o'clock game. It should never be a 1 p.m. game. Never.
Josh, I'm going to make you angry, I think, with the answer I'm about to give you. Not only is this game not in my top 5 games this week at all, it's not even close.
Okay.
I don't care who wins this game. This game has no juice for me. In my opinion, neither of these two teams are worthy of being a playoff team. I think they both unequivocally, positively stink. The Steelers have no offensive identity at all. The Ravens have no offensive identity at all. Lamar Jackson is either hurt, has lost a step, or forgot how to play football this year. The Steelers, Tony Romo is drawing the same play the Buffalo Bills are running 30 times on Sunday, and the Steelers can't stop it. They just cut Darius Slay for Adam Thielen. They have the most expensive defense in the NFL, and they can't stop the run, even worse than what my Eagles did on Friday against the Bears. They have no offensive deep threat besides DK Metcalf, and they're forced to either throw the ball to Darnell Washington or Kenneth Gainwell. Where the hell Pat Fryermuth is going in this Arthur Smith offense, I have no idea. And quite frankly, if you ask me, neither of these two teams deserve it. And the most entertaining team in the entire division is the team that has 3 wins because their quarterback has been hurt almost the whole season.
Yeah. The AFC North has been extremely disappointing this season. From the Ravens all the way down to the Browns. All 4 teams have been extremely disappointing this season.
It wouldn't shock me if this game ended up being 14-10. It also wouldn't shock me if Baltimore blew the Steelers out because Lamar just finds the run game with Derrick Henry because the Steelers can't stop a nosebleed.
Well, we thought the Ravens would do that against the Bengals, but
this guy did not. This guy actually picked the Bengals to upset the Ravens. So no, that is wrong. The Ravens have been exposed, but so is Pittsburgh. These two teams are not good. They're both terrible.
I know, but for me, it's still.
And by the way, this whole rivalry thing, everything you mentioned about the rivalry before I started this topic was over 10 years ago, mostly.
And you think I give a shit?
Again, to me, rivalries are all based off of what's happening now. I don't see the great rivalry in the NFL right now besides Chiefs-Bills. I think right now that's the only real rivalry in the NFL. Rams-Seahawks could get there. Niners-Rams could get there. But even like Niners-Seahawks, back in the day, it was a great rivalry. Now it's not. That's how I look at rivalries. It's what are you doing for me now? And since Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger have left, and we've had this iteration of Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky or Russell Wilson versus Lamar or Snoop Huntley or whoever the Ravens want to throw out there, it doesn't feel the same.
No, it doesn't, but it's still Pittsburgh-Baltimore. And for me,
okay, that's great. That means it's going to be 13-10.
And in this case, I don't care. I want to watch it.
Well, how about this? If both teams were 1-15 going into week 18, hypothetically, would you still want to watch it? Probably not.
Actually, yes.
Okay. Well, you are fit for rivalries then, I guess. This game's got no juice for me. I mean, they're talking about Mike Tomlin potentially getting fired.
Wait a minute. Did you hear about this? They were, not only were Steelers fans booing Renegade, which is the song they play at Acrisure Stadium when the Steelers defense needs a big stop, but they were fans at the game against the Bills were chanting, "Fire Tomlin."
Because they're sick of it, because it's been 9 years of 9-7 or 9-8 BS. And that's what this is. And I think Steelers fans are finally waking up. They're watching the Patriots going, wait a minute. In 1 year, they go from 3 wins to 10, and we've been winning 8 games for 9 years. What the bleep are we doing?
But it's not in the Steelers' culture to fire coaches midway through the season.
Well, you know what? Maybe they need to change the culture. It wasn't in the Bears' culture to have an offense for the first 100 years of their existence until this year. I mean, seriously. Well, they were stuck on the 85 Bears since 1985. It's now 2025. And now they're like, holy crap, we have an offense. What about the Packers, who for 15 years didn't give Aaron Rodgers a defense? Why do they have no idea how to react to this team? Because their defense is actually good and they don't know what it's like. Hey, Steelers, maybe you should try investing in the offensive side of the ball for once in your life.
I mean, they did draft Will Howard out of Ohio State.
Oh, goody. You know what? Mike Tomlin could probably win 8 games with him. It won't matter. They'll win 8-9 games. They might win the division, and then they're going to get their doors blown off. Do you know the last time they won a game, a playoff game, when they scored an offensive touchdown?
Good God, it's been a while. I think it
It
was
was
against
the it was the Dolphins with Matt Moore, because the game they won against the Chiefs, which was one of their last playoff wins, I believe, they kicked 6 field goals.
I remember they did that in the season opener last year against Atlanta.
Like, Jesus. Like Pittsburgh. I think these fans have fun. I think this NFL season, with all these bad teams all of a sudden being good, has finally woken up Steelers fans to be like, what the hell are we doing? We have Aaron Rodgers and we can't throw the ball more than 5 yards.
I know. I don't get it.
They got their. When's the last time you see the Steelers defense run on for 100 yards? 101, 250, and Tony Romo is drawing the freaking play on the teleprompter, telling the Steelers, "You need to do this to stop it," and they're just standing there watching it over and over and over and over again.
Ay.
All right, let's get to our other Week 14 top games. There's so many games this week. There's so many more entertaining games, in my opinion, than Steelers Ravens. So I know it's on your list, but we're starting here at number 5. In my opinion, the collapse for the AFC South for the Indianapolis Colts starts here. They've always struggled in Jacksonville. Why the Jags are underdogs, I have no idea. I think the Jaguars should be favored. Liam Cohen seems like he's the right coach for Trevor Lawrence. I'll take the Jaguars. At number 4, the game that you mentioned was flexed out for Bears, Packers, Bengals, Bills, because I think this is the season for both teams. Because if the Bills lose this game, there's a real chance they're not going to make the playoffs. We already know they're not going to win the division because New England is going to win the division. They do have a game next week in New England that Buffalo, in my opinion, must win. And just like they had a game week 9 against the Chiefs, could there be a look-ahead spot there for Buffalo? And the Bengals have been running the football well with Chase Brown. They're going to have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both back, I believe. I think the Bengals have a real shot to go in here and upset Buffalo. Number 3, we already talked about it, Bears, Packers. Can the Bears prove that they are a legitimate number 1 seed in the NFC? And for the Packers, can they take back control of this division with a big win against their division rival? Number 2, I mentioned this earlier. This is a playoff game for the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I know you're going to have the game on mute, Josh, because I know that you can't stand listening to Chris Collinsworth talk about Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be talking about a lot about Patrick Mahomes potentially being on his back a lot if Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson have their way. And then number 1 to me, this feels like a shootout. I think this will be the most entertaining game of the week. Thursday night, another game that feels like a playoff game, Cowboys-Lions. I do think the loser of this game will not make the playoffs. If Dallas runs the table, they not only have a chance to win the division, but they would have a chance to also sneak into the wild card if they cannot get the division. For the Lions, obviously, if they don't make the playoffs, no matter how the season ends, no matter what their injuries look like, it would be a disappointment. So here we go. Thursday night, Sunday night, 2 1 o'clock games, the 4:25. The number 6 game on my list, by the way, was Eagles-Chargers. So Steelers-Ravens at best was 7 for me.
Okay. I actually did a top 6 list. So I'm bending the rules a little bit. My honorary mention is actually Titans-Browns, even though it's 2 terrible teams. It's Cam Ward against Shedeur Sanders. If you remember, all the talk leading up to the draft was Cam Ward is going to go number 1, and Shedeur Sanders is going to be shortly behind him in the first round. Well, that's not how it played out. Cam Ward goes number 1, and then Shedeur falls all the way to the 5th round. Now they're set to go head-to-head in a matchup of 2 terrible teams. But if the Browns win, they pick up their 4th win of the season. And surprisingly, they're not eliminated from playoff contention yet, which is shocking. But still, so that's my honorary mention. At number 6, the game you also have at number 6, if Justin Herbert was healthy, this game would be higher. Eagles, Chargers. If I feel like this is going to be an Eagles home game, even though it's in LA, because, well, SoFi hasn't really felt like a Chargers home game or a Rams home game, although more so Rams than Chargers, I would say. But still, I like the Chargers, but if Justin Herbert is out, it takes some of the excitement and interest away from this game. And the fact that the Eagles are having a total offensive identity crisis, it takes some of the intrigue away from this game for me. At number 5, no, I will not have the TV on mute. I'm willing to listen to Chris Collinsworth this time around.
Does it change the tune? What changes the tune?
Because the last time I did that and tried to listen to the game through the ESPN app on radio, I couldn't get the broadcast.
Okay.
So you are right. This is a playoff eliminator. It is the Houston Texans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. And I think that's what gives the Chiefs an advantage, the fact that it's a night game in Arrowhead. You know how well Patrick Mahomes plays in Arrowhead during night games, and I think he might be able to find his rhythm. But if Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson have a say, he might end up on his backside. But by the same token, I don't fully trust Houston's offensive line. And C.J. Stroud is just coming back. They actually played better offensively with Davis Mills, I felt like. So that's a little interesting caveat in this whole thing. At number 4, you mentioned it, the Colts. They do not play well when they go down to Duval County for whatever reason. The Jaguars have just continued to beat them over and over and over again. And now the Colts are in free fall. And here the Jaguars are, even without Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas not playing his best, they are now currently, leading the division. And Jacksonville has already played their 2 games against Houston. Indy, I believe, still has another game against Houston left. And these 2 teams have to play each other again down or up in Indy. I believe that is week 16, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe week 17. But either way, I think this game is more important for Jacksonville because because you want to show that, yes, we are a legitimate contender. At number 3, I've got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Detroit Lions Thursday night football. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we'll see if he's healthy for this game. I don't expect Sam Laporta to be healthy. This game is indoors, so the weather's not going to be a factor. I don't trust Detroit's defense, and I think they're going to be without Terry and Arnold, so I expect Dak Prescott to go nuts. But it will be a shootout because that's just how Dan Campbell is. But if I had to make a prediction right now, Dallas is walking out of Detroit with a win.
Yeah, and you know what scares me about that is everybody's on the Cowboys. And I feel like I should be on the Cowboys too, and I'm doing it in spite.
Fair enough. At number 2, the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. This game was flexed into the 4:30 slot for this week. It was absolutely the right decision. I would have suggested they flex out Texans Chiefs, but they obviously didn't. But we know the playoff implications. They play each other twice in the next 3 weeks. Like I said, I think it's more important for the Packers because they will be at the Denver Broncos next week before playing at the Bears, whereas the Bears host the Cleveland Browns. So even if Chicago loses this game, they get a get-right game next week. So it's more important for the Packers. And at number 1, this should be no surprise, Steelers-Ravens. No explanation needed.
All right, well, Josh, you're the bigger college football guy than me on the show, but we had a crazy rivalry weekend in college football that was arguably overshadowed by another story that we'll get to in the next topic. But listen, I told you 2 weeks ago, the last time that we were on the air, I did not care that they did not play anybody, and you can make an argument they still haven't played anybody. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. I don't think it's close. I think Indiana's probably second. I never bought your Texas A&M that they were number 3, and look what Arch Manning did to them West Saturday night down there in Texas. I still think they're going to make the CFP, obviously. But it's another weird year for college football. It was a good rivalry weekend. We had some good games. Georgia Tech gave Georgia a little scare. Auburn obviously gave Bama a scare. LSU almost giving Oklahoma a scare. But at the end of the day, not a ton of upsets, not a lot of craziness really going on.
Yeah. By the way, I know I've had my issues with Chris Collinsworth, but my God, Gus Johnson, you are a freaking clown. I don't. Oh my God, Brandon almost fell out of his chair.
Do you want to explain yourself, Mr. Ungar?
I don't want to hear him or Joel Klatt, for that matter, call another Ohio State game. My God, it's when those two are calling a game for Ohio State, it sounds like they work for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Good.
Jeremiah Smith!
Maserati Marvin Harrison. Oh my God. It was honestly annoying. It's more annoying to listen to Gus Johnson call an Ohio State game than it is to listen to Chris Collinsworth during a Chiefs game.
Josh's Penn State side is coming out of him, ladies and gentlemen.
So thank God I will not be watching the Big Ten Championship.
That outside Alabama, Georgia, that's the best game of the weekend.
By the way, College Game Day will not be at the Big Ten Championship. They will be down at Atlanta for the.
Well, of course they will. I mean, that's the game of the week, Alabama, Georgia, the rematch. And we're going to get to see this weekend. I'm going to watch both these games because I really want to see Ty Simpson and Mendoza, the two quarterbacks that are rated number 1 and number 2 right now, go up against NFL style and NFL level defenses.
I think Ohio State is just going to toy with Indiana.
I do too. I want to see Mendoza against that defense, which is historically great. I believe Ohio State's as good, if not better, than 2019 LSU because I think they have a better defense than that LSU team. And I think those two receivers could equal what Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase were to that team.
Good God, Jeremiah Smith. First of all, I didn't think that was a touchdown on that first series, but point aside, because it didn't end up mattering. If it had been
they toyed with Michigan. I mean, even Michigan went up 6-0. You're like, oh, they have no shot to win this game.
Yeah, even when Michigan was up early, I was like, yeah, Ohio State's still going to win. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it was 17-9. It felt over, and Matt Patricia's been a wizard there. Ohio State just says it's the talent, but it's also their coaching. What Ryan Day has done since that Michigan debacle last year, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like an Ohio State homer because you know I'm not. You just watch them and you go, they could beat the Titans, the Raiders, the Jets, the Saints, and probably the Browns. I don't know because of the Browns defense, but they're better than like 4 NFL teams.
So the Georgia-Alabama game isn't the only rematch happening this weekend because you also have BYU Texas Tech, which is a rematch.
I don't care about that game. To me, we have 9 playoff spots decided to me. And the Big 12, the Mountain Championship, and the ACC Championships are going to decide the other 3 spots, and none of those teams have a shot to win the national championship.
I do think Texas Tech has a legitimate chance, if they get placed in the right spot in the bracket, to run the table and win the national championship. I believe in the Red Raiders and what they're doing.
Well, you also believe in Texas A&M, and look what they did. Ever since you said they believed in them, they fell out of a cliff. They had to come back down 27-0 after they ran into a security guard, and they lose to Arch Manning.
Texas is in an interesting spot.
I don't buy Texas should be in at all. I think it's ridiculous. If you put Texas in, then Bama should have been in a year ago. That's my argument.
You know who I think doesn't belong? Vanderbilt. I don't think
Well, no,
Vanderbilt.
they don't belong either. I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, these are the 9 teams that do belong, and I could be missing one. So I'm going to exclude the Big 12 champion, the Mountain West champion, and the ACC champion. There's only 3 spots for each one of those. But I think
Why Mountain West?
Because there's going to be a Mountain West champion. That's going to be one spot, right?
No.
Aren't they a part of the Power 5?
No. It's probably good. You're thinking of the group of 5 teams. It's probably going to be either Tulane or James Madison that get that spot, not a Mountain West team.
Okay, that's fair. But I think out of the Big 10, you're going to have Ohio State, you're going to have Oregon, you're going to have Indiana. To me, that's it. That's your 3. Out of the SEC, you're going to have Alabama, you're going to have Georgia, you're going to have Texas A&M, you're going to have Oklahoma. So that's 4. I also think Notre Dame deserves to get in. So that's 5.
They're actually doing the rankings right now. Utah, it comes in at number 15. Vanderbilt is at number 14. Texas comes in at number 13.
Okay, that's right. That's about right. That's where I would have Texas. I don't think you should have 3 losses and deserve to get in. I know that they were on the road, and I know they lost to the likes of Georgia and Ohio State, but you can't have 3 losses to me and get in.
So hopefully they have not revealed number 12.
Ole Miss is the other one I was thinking about. So Ole Miss, another SEC team. So that's there. I just mentioned to you. 5
Miami
SEC.
is number 12. What does Miami have to do to jump over Notre Dame? Miami beat Notre Dame. What the hell?
Okay, but they also lost to a cupcake. That's the difference. You can't lose to. You get no. Head-to-head does not matter that much. It doesn't not matter over the resume.
Are you kidding me? What?
No, the resume matters more than head-to-head. That's what the committee has told you. They are looking at body of work over head-to-head. That is literally their definition of the committee.
BYU comes in at number 11, and I would expect Alabama to be at number 10, and then Notre Dame at number 9. I'm surprised Texas only moved up 3 spots, considering they took down the number 3 team in the country.
Again, it's because they have 3 losses. Head-to-head does not matter. It is the body of work, and losses matter more than wins.
This committee,
which is why they need to get rid of the committee
and go to a.
No,
all right.
No.
Oh,
you go to a,
hold on. Notre Dame comes in at number 10.
So they just raised Alabama up because Alabama beat Georgia this year. They just beat Auburn. The SEC matters more than Notre Dame without a conference. So that makes sense to me.
I would have because that game was so close, I would have actually dropped Alabama a little bit in the rankings.
Again, though, when you're dealing with the SEC, that matters more.
Trust me, I get it. The SEC is the most dominant conference.
No, it's not. The Big Ten is. The Big Ten, to me, is overall better than the SEC.
Alabama comes in at number 9. So, just as you predicted, I would expect, let's see, maybe this is where Texas A&M goes. I'll let you know once they reveal it. It has not come up yet. We know Alabama is 9, Notre Dame is 10. And
I would suspect Ohio State 1, Indiana 2. I think Georgia moves up to 3.
Who would be at number 4? Oregon?
Maybe. I think it's between Oregon and Oklahoma. I think you probably put Ole Miss at 6.
Are you going to Oklahoma's at number 8.
Okay, so they really believe in Bama. So I would guess Bama 6 or 7.
No, Bama's at 9.
Oh wait, you said Bama 9. Okay,
Texas
Texas
A&M,
A&M.
Texas
I would guess
A&M's
7.
they are number 7. You are correct. So
So who do we
Ole Miss,
need? Oh, Oklahoma, Ole Miss will be 6, I would think.
Oklahoma is number 8. Ole Miss comes in at number 6. That leaves Oregon, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio State, and I'm missing one.
Texas A&M, they'll be in at 5.
No, Texas A&M already got revealed at number 7.
My bad.
So Ole Miss is 6.
That's what we get for doing live on the air.
I know, right? So Oregon's probably going to come in at number 5. Yep, Oregon's number 5. And then
Georgia's 3.
Who's at number 4 then?
Oh, we're about to find out.
Yeah. Oh, Texas Tech.
Okay.
So Georgia's number 3. Indiana's number 2. Ohio State's number 1. There you go.
Can we talk about Wayne Kiffin? This bothered me. And I'm not going to blame Wayne Kiffin as much as I'm going to blame college football. You imagine this, Josh. Kevin Stefanski tomorrow gets a call. He's going to become the new head coach of the New York Giants, and he's going to immediately leave the Cleveland Browns. You might be like, all right, I want Kevin Stefanski gone. But it's just the point. You cannot have a coach leave another team in the middle of a college football contending championship in the middle of the season. It's just so wrong to me.
Well, he wanted to stay at Ole Miss to finish the season before going over to LSU, but Ole Miss said, no, you can't.
It shouldn't even be a discussion. It should be, you shouldn't even be allowed to have talks with teams until after the season, in my opinion.
That's hard, though, because you got because of the calendar.
Well, that's why they need to push everything back. No, the college football needs to have an off season. And if high schools need to push back the signing date or whatever for these schools, go ahead and do it. I don't care, because that's what needs to happen. The off season needs to start the day after the national championship game. That's the day it starts.
You know what's crazy is, given that we have the NIL and transfer portal and players getting paid and all this and that, you could basically just call college football the NFL's farm system.
It is. That's what it's turning into. And it is good for the sport late in the year, because, like, listen, we're going to get to watch the future stars on Sunday, on Saturdays. And that's great. That's why the super conferences have been really good. But it's also diluted the end of the regular season, and it's made it really difficult for this NIL and transfer portal stuff when it comes to the offseason. Now college football coaches are leaving like crazy, and Lane Kiffin just stripped Ole Miss's entire staff on their way to a potential national championship game. I mean, they had a real shot to make the national championship game and then get pounded by Ohio State, but they had a real shot to make it.
Yeah, by the way, Lane Kiffin is allowing his offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss, to stay at Ole Miss to finish the season before coming over to LSU. So there's that little nugget. But
yeah, and by the way, I think it's like if they win the national championship, they get to pay Lane Kiffin a certain amount of money or something. But Lane's a snake in the grass.
He's a louse. He really is.
I didn't like this at all. This is terrible for the sport of college football. That this was talked about more on College Game Day than the rivalry weekend in college football, which is supposed to be so sacred. That basically Lane Kiffin turned this into a LeBron 2010 decision.
He really did. And do you remember when Florida fired Billy Napier earlier this season? People thought he was going to go there, and quickly the Gators were kind of removed from the conversation, and it only came down to LSU and Ole Miss.
Like, if he went for the NFL at the end of the season, I wouldn't have been mad at him. He had that right. Jim Harbaugh did it a year ago. But did you ever hear oh my God, Jim Harbaugh is for sure going to win Michigan? We heard inklings of it, maybe the week of the national championship, but it was mostly having to do with the scandal. It wasn't like, oh my God, Jim Harbaugh's out here publicly flirting with the Chargers to pay him more money.
Yeah. And
Lane Kiffin was publicly telling LSU and Ole Miss, whichever one of you will pay me more money.
And I believe he got similar offers from both schools.
It's a joke. Now, by the way, I'm not going to say I'm rooting against him. I'm not going to say I'm rooting for him. I think he will do well at LSU, but I think it's going to take more time than he thinks. I think there's a real possibility they don't even make the college football playoff next year.
I mean, the SEC is brutal, and
he gets to play Ole Miss next year. And how are you going to look those players now at LSU in the eye and say, boys, I got your back, when I just turned on Ole Miss less than 2 years into my tenure?
And I believe that game is at Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're going to need extra security. They're going to burn down the building.
I know. Yeah.
It's a disgrace. I'm angry about it for the sport of college football. That every year at this time we do this about college football. This is supposed to be the celebratory end of the season. That we're going to celebrate all these great athletes and the seniors in their final games in the college football playoff. And yet all we do in college football is talk about the committee and coaches leaving. We don't talk about the on-field product when it's at its best.
I know.
By the way, what I said about the NBA, do I have a problem with the NBA now? We don't talk about the on-field product. All we want to talk about is, oh my God, is Kevin Durant going to request another trade? Or, oh my God, Mike Malone got fired 3 days before the postseason. What? Like,
wait, to that point, most of what we hear on like First Take now is like, oh, they're talking. Remember when Alex Ovechkin broke the all-time goals record? Like, I know you're not a big hockey fan, but that was one of the big stories. One of the first topics I heard on First Take the day after Alex Ovechkin became the all-time leading scorer in the NHL was, how does he compare to LeBron James? It's like, what?
Well, that's what we do. We don't talk about the current on. Last year, I think the Thunder, and again, not to get off topic, but the Thunder felt disrespected because no one wanted to talk about them because all they wanted to talk about was the day of Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant got traded to the Houston Rockets. There's something fundamentally wrong with that, and college football is the same issue. We should have not been talking about Lane Kiffin. We should have been talking about Georgia beating Georgia Tech. We should have been talking about Ohio State and Michigan. We should have been talking about Alabama, Auburn. We should have been talking about Oregon, Washington, all these other Florida, Oklahoma, all these other big rivalry games. And instead, all we talked about was this jackass and whether or not he was going to make a decision or not. And that's the truth. I'm sorry, folks.
No, you are 100% right. It has ruined college football because, as we have discussed and as I have, brutally illustrated, I am a huge rivalry guy. I love the Oregon-Washington rivalry. I love the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. And instead of talking about the impact of what happens if Michigan wins a 5th straight time against Ohio State, or what happens if Auburn beats Alabama, or some of these other what-if scenarios.
And that wasn't even the conversation. That part didn't even come up. It was, well, Ohio State or Alabama is probably going to win. But let's talk about Lane Kiffin. Or let's talk about, this BYU coach may be going somewhere. And then they had to step in. They had to step in and say, the BYU coach is going to stay. And, then they started talking about Bill Belichick. Well, what the hell? North Carolina's irrelevant. What the hell are we talking about North Carolina for and Jordan Hudson? Give me a break, man.
So, by the way, it sounds like the BYU coach is going to go to Penn State. The two sides have mutual interest, but the BYU
he just said he's staying.
Oh, well, last I heard, there was mutual interest between him and Penn State.
He just
But
told people today he's staying.
okay, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the last I heard was there was
Again,
mutual.
now we got to talk about Penn State's head coaching search. That's what they're going to spend all this week on. Well, now who's Penn State going to hire? I don't know. I think the number 1 and number 2 team in the country are playing this weekend.
Yep.
No disrespect to your nifty Lions, but that's the truth.
No, I don't take any disrespect from that. And think about this. You know, we have 2 big college basketball games going on. I haven't heard a peep about them. It's the ACC SEC Challenge. You got the Florida Gators, the reigning defending national champions, playing at Cameron Indoor against the Duke Blue Devils. Then you have the North Carolina Tar Heels taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. You also have UConn playing at Kansas. So I hope you respect that I'm giving up watching those games to do this show, by the way.
I do respect that a lot. And I respect your dedication to college basketball because I think that's the one thing that hurts it. They are going up against college football, the NFL, NBA, all the seasons pretty much.
I know. By the way, I'm probably going to the Cleveland Hoops Showdown, or Cleveland Hoops Classic, rather, on December 13th. Ohio State is taking on West Virginia at Rocket Arena.
Speaking of hoops, let's
ahead.
dive into this real quick as we're going to end our show. J.B. Bickerson and the Detroit Pistons. You called this for the season. I'll give it to you. They're the best team in the East. They're not the best team in the West because that team's got a chance to break an all-time record. But they remind me a lot of the Cavaliers team that JB had where we were a really good team and then choked our brains out in the playoffs.
But to answer the question directly on the screen, are they the biggest surprise in the NBA thus far? No. The biggest surprise thus far are those boys down in South Beach. You were the one saying heat culture is dead. And yet here they are. They're one of the top 6 teams in the East. I think they're like number 3 or number 4 right now.
Well, they're 14-7, yeah.
Did you expect the Miami Heat to be 14-7? I know
No,
I didn't.
I did not, but I certainly didn't expect the Pistons to be 13-4. I'll tell you that. I think on the negative side, I didn't expect Indiana to be this bad to the point where they can barely win a game. They're 4-17.
Yeah, Miami's, by the way, Miami is 14-7. They are 3rd in the East. And by the way, who called it that the Toronto Raptors would be a top 6 seed?
You did. It's also still very early. We got to remember the NBA season hasn't hit till Christmas yet. But usually if you're 13-4, you're going to be a top 6 seed. So as long as the Pistons stay healthy, I mean, I think Cade Cunningham could be an MVP candidate this year. Though if the Thunder go 74-8, it's going to go to SGA again because he's going to get 30 points a game on the free throw line.
Oh, stop calling him a free throw merchant.
Well, he is. Again, here we go again. How many points per game did he average from the free throw line? About half his points.
He's just that good. But
He
I'll
can't
tell
be
you,
that good when he's barely got the ball in his hands. The refs are already blowing the whistle.
I'll tell you this. One of the biggest disappointments thus far has been our hometown team. What the hell?
We don't care about the regular season. That's why I'm not calling us this one. We're playing Naquin Tomlin and Jalen Tyson and whoever the hell else we're playing out there. We're not even playing our guys.
We gave up 41 to Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, well, we're giving up 40 to everyone. No one's playing defense in the NBA. Have you seen these scores? They're like 125 to 120.
I know. Let me float this idea out there.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't think I was going to suggest this, but remember, we made that trade with Indiana for Karis LeVert, and I did like the addition of Karis LeVert. So just hear me out. Indiana gets Jared Allen. The Pacers give us Obi Toppin and a first-round pick.
Are we ready to put Mobley at the 5? That's what it comes down to.
I kind of like the lineup of Mobley at the 5 and Dean Wade at the 4.
I'm still worried about Mobley's body as a center. I think he's too skinny. If you're gonna get in there and bang with the likes of Ware from Miami and the guys the Knicks have and Karl Anthony Towns and those guys and even Detroit with Jalen Duren, I'm not sure Evan Mobley can handle it physically.
Fair enough.
So
But
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I've watched less NBA basketball this year than I usually have at this point in the year, which is not a lot. I watched opening night and occasionally here and there I've seen a little bit of the Lakers. I've seen a little bit of Houston. I've seen a little bit of Detroit, and that's about it. I've probably watched more Thunder games than I have Cavs games at this point.
Unfortunately, I will not be able to watch AEW Dynamite tomorrow when my two favorite wrestlers face off in the Continental Classic because I will be at Rocket Arena for the Trailblazers against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But since I brought up wrestling, surprise!
Go ahead. I'm going to like you because I'm not saying a word.
Trust me, I watched your video on Brandon's World, and I commented on it.
I saw you commenting on this.
War Games was child's play compared to AEW Blood and Guts. I think I did not watch War Games, but I know everything that happened because I watch recap videos and stuff like that.
Well, wait a minute. If you didn't actually watch the show, then you can't say that.
I watched recap videos. I saw highlights.
You can't watch recap videos and highlights. It's not the same thing. You can't go on Twitter and agree with everybody on Twitter when you haven't watched the damn thing.
You told me in that video, you said there were no table spots.
There was one table spot in the men's match. There was none in the women's match. The way they did it with the superstars coming out from the ring entrance was terrible. I thought it looked beautiful on TV. I thought it was executed terrible. The whole show was off from the beginning. It was not a good show. I will be the first to stand up here in a minute. You know I admit when things are bad. I did not enjoy that show.
Trust me. I do like that Braun Breaker is getting a title shot against CM Punk. I hope Braun Breaker just destroys him. But
I think they're going to hold on to that till WrestleMania. There's probably going to be interference by this masked man.
Austin Theory.
Could be Chris Jericho. We don't know. I think the fact that they have him as a guy who did not reveal himself could mean maybe it's not Austin Theory. Maybe it's somebody else.
There's speculation it's Seth Rollins, but I highly doubt that.
It's not Rollins. If it was Theory, I kind of think they would have revealed it last night. So I'm starting to think it's going to be Jericho.
Jericho is not that.
But they don't have to have him in the mask. They can have him be somebody else when the time comes. That's what I'm saying. The guy who was under the mask at Survivor Series does not have to be the guy it actually is because he was never revealed.
That part is true, yes. But
I mean, how many storylines in Mask has AEW done? I know a bunch. WWE has done it a bunch too. It's no trope at this point. Can somebody try something new with anything? We have hit a wall creatively in professional wrestling. Everybody is doing the same thing across the board.
Yes, except our double cage match was actually violent.
Listen to him. Our double cage match. Okay, Dave Meltzer.
But I'm hopefully going to be able to watch World's End. I have not been able to watch the past couple AEW pay-per-views. Actually, the last pay-per-view I watched was All Out when Hangman defended the title against
I'm shocked you just don't go back and watch them later during the week at a convenient time for you.
I
do know why, because they're 6 hours long.
And yet I still get great wrestling out of it.
You may get great wrestling out of it while you're sitting there going, those fans in the arena, I've heard them say, you say you see people commenting, I see people commenting saying, I had to leave because I had to catch my train home, Tony Khan.
If AEW ever brings a pay-per-view to Cleveland, trust me, I will be one of the first ones in line, and I ain't leaving. I will
Well, trust
stay.
me. Well, trust me, Tony Khan is going to be, hey, Tony, how your POEs been this year? Well, I think we had a great Wednesday Night Dynamite because Tony Khan has no idea how to answer any media questions whatsoever. The man dodges every single question that man is asked on any show. He goes into a 20-minute rant about how great the NFL is this year.
His tweets are entertaining to read. I'm not going to
Oh,
lie.
man. Well, you know what? That was a fun last 5 minutes of the show. Next week, we do have to talk about John Cena's last match. I will be there. We do have to talk about it. This Saturday on Brandon's World, me, Jalen Sandvik, my good buddy Michael Reiner, we have already recorded. We have broken down John Cena's top 10 matches of all time. That was a really fun thing we did premiering this week. So shout out there. You already gave a shout out to your channel earlier. I'll give a shout out to mine here. We're back, baby. 102 episodes in. Here we go.
Good grief. Good Lord.
Man, that was all right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up for the night. We appreciate you guys. This has been episode 102 of Championship Rings. We'll be back next week. As always, I'm Brandon Willis, host of Brandon's World. He's Ungar the Max, host of the Sports Room Talk Show. What I will call AEW's #1 fan, Josh Ungar.
I'll call you WWE's #1 fan.
Well,
Brandon
that's not even close. I'll tell you that from some of the other people I know. But with that being said, we'll see you guys next week, and peace.